Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is April 25th, 2022, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the U.S. markets tumble last week on Fed statement that the markets are hitting a peak. Now, there's no major economic event scheduled for today, but as the week moves on, we have major companies from the United States that are releasing quarterly earnings, including Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook, ExxonMobil, Coca-Cola, and Intel. Now, looking at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbol, the Australian dollar and the British pound also tumbled last week. Looking at the indices, as mentioned, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ both sold off. Now, looking at commodities, gold and oil also traded lower. Now, the stocks, in terms of the selling pressure, was across the board. And lastly, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin also took a hit with a sell-off to the bottom of the range. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we are looking at a 4-hour chart of the Eur Usd on its lows. Look at that, 107.56. Didn't break lower, okay? But this is really important because this is a major component that is now holding its own versus the other pairs. If we look at them, GBP USD, look at that nosedive. It's a gap down and sell off. Now looking at a weekly chart, that's where we need to look at in order to see how much further we could possibly sell off here. And in truth, if we continue breaking this down, we could hit 125, okay? 130 psychologically is a major number. And this peaking out at 142 and then retreating to 128 is very important, as this is increasing some selling pressure on the downside. Now looking at the Australian dollar, which was the strongest, also taking a hit here. And we're at supportish level. If we look at a daily, it's a supportish level. It's not a major supportish level, but it is. Looking at a weekly, it's more important. This is a weekly wise, it's a much more important supportish level. This one is 71-ish level. However, if we do break it, next level down is 70. So just keep that aware and be aware that we may actually bounce off of these levels, okay, as we're hitting support. Now looking at the commodities, for looking at gold, retracing down to 915. Not a big deal after hitting 2,000, excuse me, and then retreating back to its lows, okay, of this range that it's been trading with. Okay, so that's to be expected, okay? The higher low, the lower low is a, kind of like a offset of, how much further it could go up and how much further it could go down. So those type of levels have to be taken into consideration also. Now looking at oil, trading lower as well, below $100 a barrel. That's the first time after we hit 108 last week. So that's really an important level that we're retracing to, okay? We're still trading sideways for all intents and purposes, okay? If we look at a daily, we're still, at $94 a barrel. That's where support is. So just keep that in mind, that we're now just between this 108 and 94-ish level. Now, looking at the major board, the U.S. stocks, this is the Dow Jones. Look at this nosedive from last week. We went from 35,300 last week to 33,484. That's a 2,000 point drop, okay? That is severe to say the least, okay? So if this does continue selling off and we have this selling pressure towards this 32,000-ish level, this can continue going back to this lows of 32,400-ish level. So just be aware of it. We are going into May, and May is usually a sell-off month, so just be aware of it. Now looking at the NASDAQ also selling off here, looking at a daily, not as severe, okay, and it isn't supportish level. So if we don't bounce here, we may see it further selling on the downside. Now looking at the individual stocks, everybody lost. Apple, Facebook is back on its lows, below 184. Very weak here. And if it's coming out with earning releases and it's not so positive, we could see some further pressure on the downside. Looking at Microsoft, also back to its low of 273. Doesn't show so much resiliency here. And if it does break lower, well, it's going to make new lows. Amazon, below 3,000. That's an important level for Amazon as well. Looking at Tesla, sustained itself. Okay, so this is important. This is relative strength, okay, where if the market does continue to either bounce, this may be the one that's going to bounce. Above $1,000 psychologically is a very important number. JP Morgan also selling off back to its lows at 126. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin, we're there, okay, 39,000 is where we're at. We're at the bottom of the range. Now, incidentally, last week I mentioned that Cisco Okay, Cisco Systems, which is a very important company, all right, was the one to look for. And Cisco was trading further lower, and this is what happened and pulled down the market at a certain point. The Fed statement was just a dress-up rehearsal. It was just an impetus for the sell-off. But you could see here that we are selling off, and it is hitting a soft landing, okay, at this $51. So if it doesn't break this $50, that's an important level for it not to break, and maybe just see it bounce off of it. However, if it does break $50, it could go back to the $34 range, and that means there's more selling pressure on the markets as well. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish everybody a great trading day. Thank you.